Sara, thank you so much for being here with me today. I am so excited to have this conversation because last time we had a chance to talk, we both were like, man, we could talk for hours. But
Yeah.
let's rein it in. Today, what I'd really like to talk about are some of the cool new tools that you're seeing and using, and also how we can keep up with the changes in marketing. So thanks for
Yeah.
being with me and being willing to have this chat.
Yeah, it's great to see you. Thanks. This is wonderful.
And thank you for wearing green. You look fantastic.
Yeah, for you, Tara, for you.
I love it. I love it. Okay, one thing that I'm excited about that we were talking last time was about some of the new AI tools that are built into tools that we've known and loved and used perhaps for both of us a long time already. We won't talk about how long it's been because we're still really young. One thing that I'm so excited about is the new AI tools inside SEMrush. Oh my gosh, I've been having so much fun going down these rabbit holes, even wormholes. They get really nitty gritty, and just checking out all of the new features to make sure that my clients and their whole effort around visibility are keeping up. We were talking about how it used to be SEO was such the buzzword, but now we have so much more to consider. We've got whether it's Gen AI, answer engine, there's so many things to think about. And I am so excited about these AI tools. How about you? What are you getting into right now?
Yeah, so you think about the transformation that AI is having in so many facets of the work that we do today, but I think nothing more significant than in marketing and how we really can amplify everything that we're doing. AI's been around AI's been around for a long time. But when you talk about Ask Engine, as consumers, we're not searching keywords any longer. We want to ask a question about what's the best running shoe for female in her 40s who maybe has bunions. And so you're out here, and I think all of us can identify we're not using keywords to ask questions any longer. We're asking, find the best product for us. We're going online, we're asking a question, and it's interesting as I've personally been using this for my daughter. That's a great perspective. I'm finding that if I ask a medical question, what's happening is I'm getting a lot of the big national brands are popping up with the Ask Engine. But what is startling to me is our regional brands are not showing up as being cited sources in Ask Engine or Generative Engine. So there's a huge opportunity there. We talk about being good storytellers, having great content, building wonderful landing pages that drive not just demand, but pipeline. And if your organization is not keeping up with that, let's call it cited source in the Ask Engine or Generative Engine, your brand is going to be left behind. And so SEO is something that really doesn't matter. And then this dovetails into things like, how are you formatting your copy on your landing pages? It matters because the generative engines, the AI tools, they're combing sites differently. And if you don't know how to structure your copy, you're also going to be at a disadvantage. So I think this is something that brands in our region uh, definitely need to start paying attention to and start adapting.
I agree. And on the other hand, I'm seeing some really exciting, cool stuff with some of my clients when I pay attention to those details. That's it too, right? Like we can't just create content anymore and
Right.
think we're going to win the game. We have to look at what it's actually doing. So I have seen my clients who have done a really good job with their content for years, who have really high quality blogs, especially those that answer questions. They have solid FAQs on their site. Those are the things that are getting cited in the AI
Absolutely.
results. But it's
Yeah.
they've been working on it for years. They've already set up this structure, so that right there is going to help with their authority. Uh,
That's right.
yeah, you're right. You're right. If you haven't been paying attention until now, it's going to be that much harder for people in our region to get cited if they haven't done this work before.
Yeah, and it's not all doom and gloom. If you've got great content, it's really about repackaging that content, making some slight tweaks to optimize because the game has changed, right? The algorithms, you got to keep up with the algorithm. And it's just a matter of, to your point, it's have the expertise. The human element is still matters. You've got to have somebody who understands what you're looking at, how to analyze that, and using great tools. You mentioned SEMrush. Another tool that I've really enjoyed using has been Conductor. This is a great tool for AI and GEO, all the acronyms here.
I know
But
how many.
it's not it. It's definitely more than Field of Dreams here. You can't just have great content and expect that that content's going to automatically perform. So it really is using the tools to optimize what you have,
Mhm.
make some slight tweaks, and you're going to be in a much better position than you were 2 weeks, 2 months, and 2 years ago.
Yeah. And again, pay attention to the analytics part of it. What is working?
Yeah,
GA4 gives us, and Search Console give us, even just from there, almost everything you need. So even organizations that are smaller or don't have access to some of the tools that we mentioned, they should have access to those. Talk to your web developer. If you don't have that in place, make sure that you're getting that information and then reach out to someone like Sara or myself to help identify what your opportunities are based on what you've already been collecting. If
yeah,
you see a lot of traffic in a certain with a certain page on a certain theme or that's increasing in a certain area, that will give you clues as to what your audience wants more of. And that can help,
exactly.
yeah, to build it going forward.
You said it. I think and it's a way to understand what your audience is looking for.
Mhm.
Sometimes what we have to offer, whether it's a product or a service, can be the best product or service in the world. But if we don't understand why our target audience is looking for that, if we don't know what matters to them, you're already at a disadvantage. So using that intelligence gives you a little bit of insight into your voice of customer. Use it.
Mhm. Yeah, and I'm finding too, sometimes there are big surprises in that regard. I've had different companies rank for a certain keyword or key phrase, and it's not even something that they really do. So it might be something tangent. So that tells me someone else is missing a gap out there, that there's
Yeah,
something going on that they're not taking advantage of, that the audience isn't finding what they're looking
that's
for.
right. Yeah. And a lot of this can be, you talk about Tam and Sam. What's my addressable market? What's the total market? In my addressable market, what service or product am I providing that's unique? That's not just the total addressable market. You're exactly right. It's really about honing in on what is it that you offer for your serviceable market, and owning it, and this can also be used for other broader strategic planning. You mentioned something really important here, and that's you're finding a key phrase or a question that's being used over and over and over. They're coming to your organization's website, but that's not the product or service quite that you have to offer. And if there's volume there, it might tell you, hey, this is a growth area or growth opportunity for organization. And the amount of information that tools like SEMrush and Conductor and Google Counsel offer is really limitless. And it's really how you use it.
Yeah.
So partner with people that can help you make the most out of that intelligence and those analytics.
Right, right. And also maybe you've seen this too, Sara, though. I've also seen people get lost. I love
Yeah, the
it.
rabbit hole.
Yes, and I can go so deep. What I love about doing that for one client, though, is maybe I dig really deep and I find something amazing, but then I can apply it in multiple different areas because I'm working with a few different people at the same
That's
time.
right.
And so that gets me really excited. But how, maybe you have some advice for this. How can organizations know when to stop? When do I have enough information? Or how do I decide what my key metrics are that I'm going to keep track of every week or every month?
Well, I think it really comes down to two things. Number one, it's your strategy. You've set your strategy. Don't be a squirrel, right? Stick with it. Stay on track. When you come to midterm planning or maybe your 3-year forecast, that's the time to say, okay, let's look at this piece and how might that be a growth opportunity. But for the most part, stick to your strategy. Um, you never want to close off areas of opportunity. But I think that's a really great lens. And then second, what's your KPI? Ultimately, in your organization, you have things that matter. At the end of the day, it might be size of the pipeline. how many opportunities and what's the sales potential for those opportunities might be your most important KPI. For every organization, it's a little bit different. It depends on how long your sales cycle is. If you've got a 3-month sales cycle, your KPI is going to look really different than a 3-year sales cycle. So it's not one size fit all. And I think that, between your strategy and your sales cycle, you've got to answer that individually. Strategy and KPI. Pick it and stick with it.
Yes, well put. I agree. So important. And we were talking about this last time we had a chance to chat as well. The fact that that's something we want people to know and understand is that there needs to be measurement behind marketing. Marketing is not just making pretty things. There should be a reason behind the actions, and tracking a few key KPIs helps you keep your marketing person accountable in that regard. You need to know if what you're doing is an investment and not just an expense, because they need to be getting something back for the time and the money that's spent on your communication.
That is a really great lens, because when you think about the pipeline, right, you can look at it like this. At the top of your funnel, you've got awareness, consideration, intent, all the way down to purchase order. And if we're talking B2B, in B2C, the sales cycle is a lot shorter, right? It looks a little different. In B2B, you've got a sales cycle that really requires building trust over time. So where does marketing pick up and leave off? And what's the baton between the marketing qualified lead and the sales qualified lead? That's another really important piece, because at the end of the day, you can't really hold marketing accountable for closing deals, right? That's at the bottom of the funnel. So every organization needs to determine what is the handoff? Where's the tipping point, if you will, between MQL to SQL? And those KPIs for MQL looks very different than the KPIs for the sales qualified leads, the SQL. So be fair, and be good collaborators between sales and marketing.
Yes, yes, they need to work together, but I agree. That's one thing from the
Yeah,
marketing standpoint that I sometimes struggle with is I'm really good at tracking what comes into a certain point, and then it's that follow through with sales to say, "Oh yeah, this that you did here, that became a product of this over here," so that you know what to do more of. You have to have good systems for tracking what is going from marketing to sales, what's converting,
exactly.
especially like you mentioned, when it's that long sales cycle in B2B. It's really easy for things to get lost at the end of the bottom of that funnel, to get lost in follow through, get lost in translation, to get lost in tracking so that we know what we can repeat.
And not every organization has a highly processed or sizable CRM to manage all of this, but there's a lot of wonderful tools out there to help you grow into, let's say, a more polished CRM. There's so many out there. Yeah,
That
use
would
the tools. That's probably another podcast for us.
absolutely, Sarah. We'll have to talk about that sometime because I'd love to talk about specifically how we can use the tools we have better. I've had clients
Exactly.
say, "Oh, I want to do this." I'm like, "Well, that's already in your HubSpot."
That's right.
Yeah, conversation for another day.
Yeah,
Fantastic. But thank you. Thank you so much for sharing some of the things that we're seeing right now. And I'll make sure to put our contact information in the description so if people have questions, they can reach out to us and ask.
that's great.
Anything else though, Sarah, on your mind today?
Oh my goodness. This podcast will turn into a second podcast. I think I think if my key takeaway is this. If you're wondering how to get the most out of what you already have out in your digital footprint, and you are wondering what your best next step is, the most important thing, I'm going to reiterate what you said, use your analytics, use the data that you have.
Mhm.
Um, be careful not to go too far down off tangents that aren't tied to your strategy. Right? Stay in your serviceable market, stay in your SAM. And before you get too far down a path, determine what indicates success. What are your KPIs? And celebrate the wins.
Mhm. That's a good
Celebrate the wins.
reminder. Thank you, Sarah. We all need to do that. We all need to pause, look back at what worked well so we can do more of that going forward. Thank
That's
you.
right.
Beautiful advice. Thanks for being
All
with me.
right, Tara. It was great to hang out with you today.
So fun. Thank you.